Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live webinar today at 6:30. Sorry about that. So hi and welcome everyone to our live webinar. So today we have a list of 3 speakers for you. So there's Gilbert, Arsenault, who's one of our project managers, Wael, Khaddage, who's a junior systems analyst, and then finally myself, who's a recruiter here at Mannarino. I just wanted to mention that the webinar will be in English, but we welcome any questions or comments in both English or French. Before we begin, there's a couple of technical reminders I just wanted to go over with you. So throughout the duration of the webinar, your microphone will be muted. Questions and comments are very welcome. So there's going to be a Q&A session at the end of our presentation. You'll also be able to submit any questions and comments that you have at the bottom of the screen. There's a Q&A icon that you can click on. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have at the end of the presentation. The webinar will also be recorded, so if ever you would like to have a recording of the session, feel free to send me an email at rh@mss.ca. And so on that note, let's get started. I'd like to introduce you to Gilbert Arsenault, who is one of our project managers.
Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, so welcome again. While the videos comes back. Great. Okay, so again, I'm Gilbert Arsenault. I'm one of the project managers here at the Mannarino Systems and Software. I'll quickly give you a background on myself. So before joining Mannarino a long time ago, I was an officer in the Air Force, in the Royal Canadian Air Force from 91 to 96. And when I left the Air Force, I worked in the Montreal area for the engine development and also aircraft development programs. From 96 to 2003. And in 2003, I joined Mannarino. Back then, we were about 10 employees. And as a project engineer here at Mannarino, my tasks are very diversified. Both technically, for technical tasks, I'll work on systems, software aspects, and in project management, depending on the project, there may be a small team, a bigger team, depending on the customer. Sometimes I may travel with the customer, work from here. We're very versatile, adapting to all our customers. And lastly, but not least, in a small company, I think one thing that we appreciate a lot is, everybody makes a big difference. So we really feel like, we have a role to play. So it's something that is very important to everyone. Next, I want to give you a bit of an intro to our company. And we're a Canadian company, and we're specialized in engineering services. The company was founded by John Mannarino back in 1999. And in the initial years, the company was focused on engineering services for engine control systems, aircraft engine control system to be precise. And it grew into software, doing the software for these engine control systems, and mainly for one US customer. And back then, when we grew to about a dozen people or so, I was there. And back then, and now we're more than 60 employees now, working for more than 25 customers, both in Canada and the US. Our skill and expertise ranges from airborne systems and software. For different types of system, engine controls, flight management system, health monitoring systems, a lot of different aircraft and airborne systems. We also work in aircraft simulation with some of our Montreal customers. We also work in the industrial engine. We leverage our knowledge of engine and also of safety critical aspects for our customers. And very recently, we also entered the railway industry. Helping that industry in putting on the trains safety critical systems. And next, I want to share with you some of the recent accomplishments our company has done. So in 2015, the Globe and Mail listed us as part of their list for top small medium employers, and we repeated that achievement also in 2016. And that year, we also got approved by Transport Canada as a design approved organization, a DAO, for airborne software electronic hardware. That's a huge accomplishment. It's the first service-based company in Canada and actually in the world that we know that has been awarded such an approval. Also in 2017, we got from Lockheed Martin their largest offset investment in a Canadian SME. And we're using that as part of our strategy to develop our own products. And we'll talk some more about that in the following slides. And now very recently, to add to this very good list, from the Aerospace Industries Association of Canada, we got the award for Small Business Innovation Technology. It's the first year they're giving this award, and we were very happy to win it. Now, what do we do? So we do services, and our services, they find themselves in different systems. And these systems are in aircraft, in helicopters, and aircraft simulators out there. And the way we deliver these services, they may be as part of a complete software development program where within our walls, we'll develop the software from beginning to end with the planning, the requirements, the design, the testing, the test reports, the certification, and support certification with wherever's the authority, the FAA, Transport Canada, and sometimes also with our customers, we'll do what we call work package. And so we'll integrate our work with their program, and then we'll do a sub-part of their project. And it could be testing, it could be design, whatever makes sense for them. We also do consulting and training services. So we leverage all that good experience we have to help our customer improve their process and also improve the skill set of their workforce. Lastly, but not the least, we have also in the Montreal area, we have people that are assigned on site at the customer, integrated in their team to help the customer, deliver their projects. One more thing that we started doing is our own product. So on top of our services now, Mannarino is developing its own software product. We've started a program in 2017, strategically very important to us. And we've secured long-term funding for this program, and that team is growing. And as you'll see later on with Cynthia, we're looking for good candidates to help us deliver that program. We thought we could share with you some project examples, just to give you a bit of a taste of what kind of system we've been working on. So here, we work on engine control systems, like I mentioned earlier, operating system, application software also that controls the engine. We've worked on the safety critical systems and software. And here, for those that are familiar with 178C or to level A, which is the highest level and very critical level. And we've done from the planning again to everything, requirements, design, testing, and the certification reports. These projects are pretty large. They can last up to 2-3 years. So they're very interesting projects to be on. Another type of project we work on, which more like a work package project for our flight simulator customers. And for these projects, we'll do a subsystem typically that's on the simulator. And so we'll develop within our walls that subsystem simulation. And once it's ready, then we'll go to the customer, to the full flight simulator, integrate that with them, validate it's working correctly. And depending on the subsystem, that work can take a few months to even up to a year. Now, I'll pass it on to Wael, who has some very additional cool projects to share with you.
Thank you, Gilbert. So my name is Wael Khaddage. I'll start off by giving you a bit of background information about myself. I received a Bachelor of Engineering degree and a Master's of Applied Science degree, both in aerospace engineering from Carleton University in Ottawa, Ontario. I started at Mannarino in September 2017, so just about a year ago. I'm currently a junior systems analyst. And since I've started, I've worked on 2 key projects. The first being a health and usage monitoring system, and the second being a head-up display system. So for those of you who don't know what a HUMS system is, it's essentially, its primary function is for aircraft maintenance. So there's a series of sensors on an aircraft which send data to the HUMS, and it determines whether certain specific aircraft components require maintenance or replacement. There are other functions to HUMS, such as improved aircraft performance, as well as monitoring and collecting operational usage data. A little background on the project itself. We have a client who developed and released a HUM system for testing. And during testing, some bugs and issues were identified, as well as some modifications. And once these were all addressed, a new round of testing was required. And that's where my work comes in. We had extensive preliminary testing of the system to ensure that all the software requirements were met, as well as any of the modifications did not affect those requirements. Any bugs and issues have been addressed, and any new bugs or issues or existing ones have been flagged and documented. And we also make sure that the documentation of the entire system is up to date. Finally, we also conducted a formal test of the entire system prior to its formal release. So for the head-up display system, a HUD is essentially a transparent glass display. It displays various aircraft information, altitude, airspeed, attitude, among other things. It is mounted in front of the pilot, and it allows the pilot to keep their head up without having to look down at their instrumentation, and that's its primary function. And my specific work on the HUD was to perform software modifications to an existing HUD that our client had and testing these modifications. And then we developed a series of requirements for the entire system as a whole. And we are currently in the process of developing a test bench and test procedures to ensure that all system requirements are met. And finally, the end goal is to ensure that the product meets industry standards. Personal highlights about working at Mannarino. First and foremost, it's the work culture. I work with very friendly, talented, and professional staff. We have a variety of projects. As I mentioned, I've been here for a year. I've worked on 2 completely different projects, and the experience is invaluable. Just these 2 projects, because our work is very client dependent, you're able to work on various different projects that improve on existing skills or even develop new skills. The flex time system is also a big benefit. It allows you to work a more flexible work schedule, and it's not your typical 9 to 5. We have various company activities. You'll see here, we had a blackout race, laser tag, glow in the dark mini putt, Halloween party. And finally, I'd like to highlight the free coffee, and that's a big plus. And here's me next to the coffee machine. And on that note, I'd like to pass it off to Cynthia, and she can describe some of the future opportunities that we have.
Thank you, Wael. So I started at Mannarino in January of 2017. I have about 9 years of recruitment experience, and I'm a part of a team of 3 people, so I'm the recruiter here. And I've been finding that my work is extremely rewarding. It's really, really rewarding for me to grow an already amazing team. And something that really stands out for me here at Mannarino is our teamwork-oriented culture. We're really driven to help each other succeed. So that's something that's really, really nice here at Mannarino. And wanted to share some facts with you about our company as well. So since January of 2013, our staff has increased by 58%. So from 40 employees to 63, and we're still in the process of growing now. Our office is located in Ville-Saint-Laurent, a very central location too. So here are some of Mannarino perks. So we offer flex time and banked hours to our employees. We offer regular company outings and activities, as well as mentioning earlier, weekly catered lunches, free coffee, tea, and espresso at all times for our staff. Group insurance, as of day 1, we have a fitness reimbursement policy, comprehensive pension plan, training policy. We offer discretionary bonuses, as well as overtime pay when applicable. In terms of some of our requirements and what we're looking for very teamwork-oriented people, somebody who has a very strong desire to learn, proficiency in English, a huge majority of our roles require a bachelor's degree as well, and eligibility to work in Canada. So the individual needs to either be have a work permit, be a permanent resident, or a Canadian citizen. Some of the assets that we're looking for as well is French. It's definitely not an absolute requirement here. Experience in aerospace is also an asset for us. So here's a list of our opportunities. And the two main positions that we're actively recruiting for at the moment is the aircraft simulation software developer role, as well as the embedded software development position for a real-time operating system project. Software and computer science degree is preferred, although it's not absolutely necessary. It's definitely a big asset for us. And C and C++ knowledge is also very big for us as well. For a full list of opportunities, you can refer to our website at www.mss.ca. And you can always reach me for any questions that you might have, or just to reach out. Love to connect with new people too. So my email is rh@mss.ca. So on that, I would like to move on to the Q&A, question and answer period. So if you have any questions, feel free to send it our way, and it would be my pleasure to answer any questions that you have. Okay, so we do have a couple of questions here. First one being, why do you think Mannarino has been so successful? And I think this is a good question to be directed to Gilbert.
Oh, thanks, Cynthia. Yeah, it's a good question. As I pointed out earlier, I mean, obviously we've won a few awards and accomplished a few important things the last 5 years and since the beginning. I think a big ingredient in that is obviously the people and people that are very professional, that aim to excel and work well together. So those are a very important ingredient. And also we look after delivering products for our customer and always improving on things. So it's all part of what makes it happen.
Thank you, Gilbert. It's also another really interesting question. How do you see the company evolving in the next 5 years?
Oh, okay, that's a good question again. And yeah, it's a bit of a crystal ball exercise, but I think with we're really on our way in terms of growing our service business. We as you've seen, we have a very good base for services, and also we're launching our own product now. It's a whole new part of our business that we're looking at increasing. So the next 5 years look like very promising for our company with many things on the horizon. So I think part of it is we want very talented people to join our team and help us deliver these very challenging projects.
Okay, great. We also have another question. What would be the purpose of the software product that is under development? Is it to design software, is it a design software, system maintenance, management software, or ...
Else? Okay, it's a good question again. Yes, we're not public yet on the exact purpose of that software yet. Just for strategic reason, we don't want to publicize that at this point. What I can say is it's a project we started. It's been a year. We're recruiting for it, and it requires C and C++ skills. Obviously, if depending on if you want to know more, I mean, you're welcome to apply and we can have a discussion. I think one-on-one we can share probably more things, but at this time I think it's as much as I can go.
Okay, thank you, Gilbert. Is there a possibility of starting to work in the space industry?
Okay, the space industry, that's good. You know what, we're very open to all the possibilities. So I would say yes, because space, I mean, it needs to be reliable, safe. And actually, we have in the past, now I think of it, we have worked on space programs for a given customer. So definitely yes.
Okay, great. This is a question for Wael. What is exactly meant by software modification?
Oh, so essentially, I can't go into detail on the modifications themselves, but our client has software that performs a function, and they wanted to make improvements to the functions that it performed, and we essentially made those changes for them.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, do you use agile software development as an approach to software?
Good question. Okay, I can tell that, you're a seasoned, developer. We are considering it, and we know about agile. The challenge is here with, safety critical systems. We need to be very deterministic in what we implement in our systems and software. So it really depends on the project. And it's a very good question. We're always looking at, delivering the best value to our customer. And agile is one technique to do that, to make sure, you deliver value and as you go on the project. And at the same time, we have to also meet the certification requirements that we have to show for both for Transport Canada and the FAA. So agile has to be, approached in a very intelligent way if you're going to do that.
Okay, great. We have another question here for Wael. So how would you describe a normal workday of a software developer? What are your daily tasks?
I wouldn't say, well, there's some work in software development. Mostly it's I work more on a systems level. I have done some of the software development. So yeah, you'll write some code. You'll mostly go test it, make sure that any changes you make are validated and they don't affect any of the system overall requirements. So I do work more on the systems level.
And to add to that, and also to what Wael was saying earlier, it really depends on the project you're on. Eh? Some project, like the one he's working on, we're working more at the system level where there's a few software in that system that work together, and he's making the whole thing work. On some of the projects, we're more a lower level on one given software. It varies on the project, to be honest.
Great. So thank you all for your questions. Keep them coming. I have another question regarding the HUMS project. Can you please give a quick description as to the software system, how the software system is operated by the aircraft operator and maintenance people?
Oh, sure. At a high level, we can give a quick overview. Maybe I'll give a quick intro. Maybe you can add to it. But basically, these HUMS systems that are mainly for large helicopters. In my understanding, they're starting also to be installed on aircraft. And the intent here is these systems, they monitor different parts on the helicopter. And instead of changing the parts at a given time, it's after 500 hours or so on, the system monitors the wear and tear of the parts, and you're able to extend the life of these parts and be smarter about your maintenance. So, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so the aircraft operator essentially has a multifunctional display that they'll see data that the HUMS is sending him. And from that, they can, make changes accordingly while in flight. And that data is also recorded. And then the ground crew can also look at it and determine whether maintenance is required.
Okay, good. This is a question for you both again. Do you use continuous integration Jenkins?
Yeah, the Jenkins rings a bell, but that continuous integration need to have a discussion to make sure I understand that question. Obviously we continuously integrate at different phases in our project, and it's important we'll integrate different parts of the software and also different components of the system as early as we can. And we've learned in executing projects it's very important to stay in the prototype mode as long as you can, where you can integrate different things together before you start doing things formally. And then when you go formal, then you control very much your configuration, your system, and so on. It becomes heavier, more control. So you need to be very smart on when you transition from prototyping and integrating a lot of parts to controlling configuration very tightly. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what comes to my mind when I hear that question.
Okay. The next question are what are the qualities do you think is essential for a software developer to have in order to succeed in the position? I think I can answer that. So in terms of the qualities, just in personality qualities, we're looking for people that are very teamwork oriented, collaborative. Since we are primarily a service-based engineering firm, ideally we're looking for people who are flexible in terms of assisting other projects if ever needed. And for sure technical, in terms of technical skills that we're looking for is C and C++, so people who have continued to improve that as well. If it's perhaps not part of your educational background, there is a lot of resources online that could help brush up any programming skills that you might want to improve on. I also have another question to you. Could I still be considered for Mannarino's opportunities even if I don't meet the criteria at 100%? The short answer is yes. Definitely, if you have an interest in the opportunity and an opportunity with us, please do apply. Even if you don't meet the criteria at 100%, if you do have an interest in programming, you have a solid base in C and C++, it would be my pleasure to review your candidacy and then reach out for a discussion.
If I might add to that, we're always looking for good candidates. And in our experience, obviously we're looking for some skills. On top of it, we're looking for people with a positive attitude and that are very willing to roll up their sleeves and learn and adapt. And that's what you were asking earlier, what makes people successful. Differently in our company and our different projects, people that are willing to put their head down, get down to it and work on things and focus, and then when things change, adapt. That's what we're looking for, and it's very successful that way.
Okay. Next question here, we just have time for perhaps one more. What would be expected of a developer in the first 3 months of hire? So perhaps at a very high level.
Okay, the first 3 months, depends on the project and the developer in terms of, how senior, junior they are. 3 months, depending on project, if you're more senior, I would expect you start spooling up and then you're starting delivering and so on. If you're more junior, obviously you're still learning the ropes, and we'll probably have assign you a senior to mentor you, and you're still learning the different things that we need. So obviously in the first 100 days, I would expect somebody to show that they want to learn, they want to be part of the team, and usually, it's pretty much what happens most of the time.
Thanks, Bob. Maybe one last question, really quickly. Have people been hired for customer on-site assignments? Yes, that is something that we do assist with. On that, that's the end of our webinar. Thank you all so very much for your time today. You've been have some really great questions. If you have any other questions, or if you'd like to reach out to me, please don't hesitate. My email again is rh@mss.ca. Feel free to also connect with me on LinkedIn too. Okay, so thank you all very much for your time. And thank you.
Great, and please, follow us on LinkedIn, and you're also welcome to visit our website. And thanks again for joining us today. We very much appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great evening.